We have a really crucial pair of Game 2s tonight, but we're going to start our show with breaking news. Sandy Brondello out as head coach of the New York Liberty. In a statement released by the team, it says in part, quote, Sandy finishes her tenure in New York as the winningest coach in franchise history, and she took us to never-seen-before heights as the first head coach to lead the Liberty to a championship. They ended by saying, we wish Sandy the very best.
Okay, this is wild, and fans definitely didn't see it coming. Out of nowhere, the WNBA just fired Sandy Brondello, the coach who literally brought the Liberty their first ever championship. I mean, the official word is a polite we wish her the best. But here's the crazy part, everyone's whispering it's because she openly praised Caitlyn Clark. Yeah, seriously, complimenting Clark might have actually cost her entire career.
Sandy Brondello is out on the market. We got a shark out on the market. This is wild news. Sandy Brondello has been fired by the New York Liberty in shocking fashion. This is on ESPN. Breaking: New York Liberty head coach Sandy Brondello's contract will not be renewed for the 2026 season. The team announced the organization will begin the search for its next coach immediately. So we got Noelle Quinn gone. Sandy Brondello gone. I think the Indiana Fever need to take a look at this. I think, look, it's not too late to...
So let's dive into this. Do you think praising Caitlyn Clark really got Sandy Brondello axed? Or is New York just totally panicking here? Alright, buckle up because this is not your average coaching change. We're talking about the winningest coach in Liberty history, gone less than a year after she delivered the championship New York fans had been dreaming of forever. And the way it all went down, a super fast statement, zero warning, no goodbye tour, trust me, that alone screams there's a much deeper story happening behind the scenes.
In the WNBA history, all time, to win a title with multiple franchises and her 40 playoff wins. They are the second most all time behind Cheryl Reeves.
Let's rewind for a second, because Sandy Brondello wasn't just some temporary coach passing through New York. She was the mastermind who took those incredibly high-priced superstars, think Brianna Stewart, Jonquel Jones, Sabrina Ionescu, and actually molded them into a cohesive championship-winning machine. Before Brondello, the Liberty had a flashy roster, sure, but zero direction. With her, they became legitimate champions. Now you'd think that would buy you some serious job security, right? Nope. The Liberty just casually dropped the news like it was nothing. We thank Sandy for her contributions and wish her the best in her next chapter. That, my friends, is code for we're cutting ties and we absolutely do not want to explain why. But here's the crucial detail that absolutely no one is overlooking. This whole firing happened immediately after Sandy publicly praised Caitlyn Clark.
Yeah, you never want to see a player get injured, and a player like Caitlyn, coming back, has had a few injuries this year. She's a great player. It would have been good for our club to see her, but hopefully we get to see her out the post-level stuff and get to play them again. As for the All-Star, I'm excited to get to know her a little bit. I think that's the part of the All-Star, is going to coach players that we haven't coached before and get them to know them a little bit and enjoy the whole celebration.
Now, normally, giving props to Caitlyn Clark wouldn't be a crime, right? I mean, she's only in her second pro year and has single-handedly blown up TV ratings, ticket sales, and jersey numbers across the entire league. But here's the uncomfortable truth. In today's WNBA political landscape, complimenting Caitlyn has somehow become incredibly controversial. Seriously, some players genuinely don't like the attention she commands, and some coaches act like acknowledging her impact somehow diminishes their own star players. But Brondello, she refused to play that game. She openly gave Clark her well-deserved flowers in public, and that absolutely rubbed people the wrong way, especially in New York, where the Liberty's entire brand is built around their superstar core, Stewart, Jones, and Sabrina. They want the narrative firmly centered on them, not on some player in Indiana. But Brondello, she just went ahead and said the quiet part out loud. Caitlyn Clark changed the league, and then boom, right after that, she's gone. Trust me, fans connected those dots faster than you can say WNBA drama.
New York Liberty just fired their head coach. People are confused as to why, because they won the championship last year. They made the playoffs this year. In sports, there's always a scapegoat when things aren't going the way that they wanted it to go. Clearly, in New York, the standard has been raised. As Coach Tibbs learned with the New York Knicks, making the playoffs does not guarantee that you are safe anymore. They have raised the standard. They're sending a message to the fans, to the team, saying, we don't want to just go to the playoffs. We need to go to the finals and we need to win. So if it's not the players on the court that are changing, it's got to be the coaching staff. So unfortunately, that did mean Coach Sandy.
Okay, so let's be super clear here. Officially, the Liberty tried to frame this whole thing as performance-based, like championship or bust. And when the team stumbled a bit this postseason, the front office suddenly decided a change was needed. But wait a second. If that's really the case, why did their press release gush about her being their winningest coach? Why highlight her amazing playoff record and praise her leadership? You don't build someone up like that if you're firing them purely over wins and losses. You do it when you're trying to soften a blow that's actually about something else entirely. And that something else? Yeah, it was absolutely her comments about Caitlyn Clark. Multiple insiders are confirming Brondello's praise for Clark did not sit well with Liberty ownership. Think about it. In a league where some star players are publicly rolling their eyes at Clark, having your own head coach praising her impact was seen as straight up disloyal. It sounds utterly ridiculous, but this is the kind of petty, insecure politics that's running rampant through the WNBA right now. Seriously, let's look at the context. Earlier this year, Brondello flat out stated that Clark was a generational player who elevated everyone around her. That's basically saying Clark is the standard, right? And guess who probably didn't love hearing that? The Liberty's own stars, who believe they are the standard. Stewart didn't exactly clap back, but the silence from that camp was deafening. And New York's front office, they are definitely not about to let their franchise cornerstones feel like second fiddle. So yeah, the writing was all over the wall. You can win a title, you can be the winningest coach, but if you praise the wrong player at the wrong time, boom, suddenly you're out. This isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about pure politics, and that's why fans are absolutely furious. Because Brondello wasn't just winning games, she brought stability, she brought credibility to a team that used to be pure chaos. She expertly handled massive egos, intense media pressure, and sky-high expectations. Honestly, most franchises would kill for a coach like her, but the Liberty just tossed her aside like yesterday's news because she dared to step outside the approved narrative. The WNBA claims it desperately wants to grow the game, right? Well, newsflash, Caitlyn Clark is the growth. The numbers don't lie. The ratings, the attendance, the headlines, they all spike dramatically when Clark's name is attached. Pretending otherwise is just delusional. Brondello simply acknowledged reality, but instead of embracing that truth, the league and its franchises are treating a compliment about Clark like it's an act of betrayal. That deep insecurity just cost New York their best coach. And let's not forget her legacy here. Brondello didn't just win in New York, she also won a title in Phoenix. She's one of only 2 coaches in league history to win championships with multiple franchises. Her 40 playoff wins, that's second most all time. You don't just stumble into that kind of success. That's elite company, and yet she gets shown the door over petty politics. Fans have every right to be absolutely stunned. This isn't just about one coach losing her job. This is about the WNBA sending a crystal clear, dangerous message. Praise Clark too much, and you might be next. Keep the spotlight strictly on the approved stars, or face severe consequence. It's a truly terrible look for a league that constantly claims to care about fairness and growing women's sports. Fans are already calling it out as pure insecurity, and honestly, they're not wrong at all. And here's the absolute wildest part. Becky Hammon, the head coach of the Las Vegas Aces, basically said she hated the move, calling Brondello a quality person and a quality coach. Translation: the Liberty totally messed up. When even rival coaches are publicly saying you made the wrong call, you know you screwed up big time. Meanwhile, Liberty players like Breanna Stewart actually voiced support for Brondello right before she got fired. That just makes this whole situation even messier. If your MVP level players are saying we have her back and ownership fires her anyway, what does that tell you? It tells you this had absolutely nothing to do with basketball results. It was all about image. The fans aren't stupid, you guys. Social media immediately blew up with people connecting all the dots. The timing lined up too perfectly. Brondello praises Caitlyn, Liberty loses in the playoffs, and suddenly she's gone. If this was purely about wins and losses, why on earth did they wait? Why didn't they fire her last year when the team came up short? Why only now? Right after she made those pro-Clark comments. Exactly, the pieces fit perfectly. And this drama matters for more than just New York. The entire league is watching, coaches are watching, players are watching, and the message being sent is incredibly dangerous. If you step outside the approved script, you might lose your job. That doesn't foster growth. That fosters, and in a league desperately trying to compete for mainstream attention, fear is the absolute last thing you want. Now let's spin this forward. Brondello isn't done, not by a long shot. She's far too accomplished. Far too respected. Seattle has an opening. The expansion teams coming into the league still need coaches. Don't be surprised if she lands on her feet quickly. But New York, oh man, they just created a massive storm. Whoever they hire next is stepping into a serious pressure cooker. Championship or bust. Don't praise the wrong player. Don't upset ownership. And for the love of everything, don't slip up. That's not coaching freedom, that's a trap. And as for Clark, she didn't ask for any of this. She's just playing basketball, doing what she does best, and breaking records in only her second year as a pro. But somehow, her name is being dragged into controversies she absolutely didn't create. That's the real shame here. Instead of celebrating the undeniable fact that Clark has boosted the entire league, including helping Liberty ticket sales when Indiana visited, the WNBA is bizarrely turning her into a dividing line, and Brondello just became the latest casualty. The Liberty officially called this a mutual parting. Please, mutual is the word you use when a breakup is entirely one-sided, but you're trying to make it sound less brutal. Sandy Brondello didn't spend decades building her resume, winning titles in multiple cities, becoming one of the winningest coaches in history, just to suddenly wake up one morning and say, you know what, I'm done. No, this was the franchise pulling the trigger. And again, the timing is beyond suspicious. The Liberty had just finished their season, emotions were still raw, and instead of a calm, off-season evaluation, the front office fired the coach who literally gave them everything they were asking for. Why now? Why so fast? Fans know why. It's about control. And praising Caitlyn Clark, the one player who already makes too many league veterans in cheer, was absolutely the nail in the coffin. Now, if you think this is just speculation, let's look at the undeniable pattern. Clark's name has caused drama all year long. Opposing players have body-checked her, openly mocked her, and complained endlessly about the attention she gets. Opposing coaches have made passive-aggressive comments about her fame. Even referees have been accused of giving her a tougher whistle, and through all that, Brondello dared to say something positive. She called Clark transformative. She credited her for bringing millions of new eyes to the game. That's all it took. And here's the incredible irony. Brondello wasn't wrong. The Indiana Fever went from an afterthought to the most watched team in the league. TV ratings shattered records. Arenas sold out. Jersey sales skyrocketed. That didn't happen because of the Liberty, the Aces, or anyone else. It happened because Caitlyn Clark's name carried undeniable weight. Brondello just acknowledged the obvious truth, but instead of applauding her honesty, the Liberty treated it like a betrayal. That's what makes this so incredibly pathetic. You'd think teams would want to ride the Caitlyn Clark wave, cash in on the massive exposure, and build unstoppable momentum for the entire league. But no, too many people in power would rather protect fragile egos than wholeheartedly embrace genuine growth. And now, New York looks incredibly petty for firing a coach over a few words. Let's talk about how fans reacted. On social media, the backlash was instant and brutal. Liberty fans were absolutely furious. Fever fans were genuinely shocked, and neutral fans called it downright embarrassing. Even some former players chimed in, saying Brondello deserved so much better. And here's the absolute kicker. People weren't just mad she was fired, they were furious about why. They saw right through the PR spin and immediately connected the dots to Clark. Once that narrative took hold, the league's image took yet another major hit. And image is everything right now, isn't it? The WNBA is fighting tooth and nail for mainstream respect, trying to compete for prime TV slots, trying to keep the buzz alive, yet instead of focusing on truly growing the game, they're busy playing petty political games with who you're allowed to praise. That's self-sabotage, plain and simple. Now what happens to the Liberty? That's a massive question mark. You don't fire a winning coach without a concrete plan, and word is they're already eyeing replacements, possibly even dipping into NBA assistants, or making some kind of splashy high-profile hire. But here's the fundamental problem. You can bring in whoever you want, but you can't erase what just happened. Players notice this stuff. Coaches notice this stuff. The clear message is out. Loyalty and success simply don't matter here. Step out of line, and you're gone. And let's not overlook the potential locker room fallout. Breanna Stewart, Jonquel Jones, and Sabrina Ionescu were close with Brondello. They trusted her. They believed in her. If ownership genuinely thought firing her would reset the culture, they might have just fractured it instead. Because how on earth do you look your players in the eye and say win a title when you just fired the coach who literally gave you one? It makes absolutely no sense. Meanwhile, Brondello walks away with her reputation completely intact. She'll get another job, guaranteed. Seattle has an opening. Expansion teams are coming. Somebody is gonna hand her the keys again, because winners don't stay unemployed for long. In fact, don't be surprised if she comes back and haunts the Liberty by beating them in the playoffs with a new team. That, my friends, would be the ultimate karma. And speaking of karma, let's talk about Caitlyn Clark's role in all of this. She didn't ask for any of it. She didn't scheme to get Brondello fired, but her name undeniably carries immense weight. In the league, it just can't seem to handle it. Everything connected to Clark gets magnified. Every foul, every play, every quote. And instead of embracing that energy, too many people are actively fighting it. That's why you end up with utterly ridiculous situations like this, where a coach loses her job for simply saying something nice. Here's the raw truth. Nobody in the league office wants to admit Caitlyn Clark isn't going anywhere. She's already changed the game, and she's only in her second year. Ratings will keep skyrocketing. Fans will keep showing up in droves. Kids will keep proudly wearing her jersey. You can fire coaches. You can push whatever narratives you want. You can try to redirect the spotlight, but the Clark effect is undeniably bigger than all of it. So firing Brondello doesn't silence the Clark conversation. It just makes it infinitely loud. It turns it into a massive controversy that completely overshadows everything else. Instead of talking about the Liberty's future, people are now talking about how fragile the league looks when one compliment about Clark sends them into a full-blown meltdown. That's not power, you guys. That's pure weakness. And that's why fans are in utter shock, not just because Brondello is gone, but because the league exposed its own deep insecurity in the process. It told the entire world that even its most accomplished coaches aren't safe if they don't toe the exact party line. And you know what? Fans absolutely do not respect that. They see right through it. Sandy Brondello gave New York its first championship and still got fired, allegedly for praising Caitlyn Clark. If that doesn't scream insecurity, then nothing does. Fans know the truth. Clark changed the league, and absolutely no amount of politics can ever erase that. Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button if you're totally fed up with all this drama, and make sure to hit subscribe for more breakdowns like this.